Okay, we're live. I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting of the Economic Development Committee. And first of all, we'd like to take roll call. And I'll do the roll call. I have it right in front of me here. Mr. Ward is here. Mr. Cleary.
Here.
Mr. Brewski.
Here.
Mr. Drake.
Here.
Mr. Efficoro.
Here.
Mr. Touche. Mr. Touche. Mr. Reedy.
Here.
Mr. Ricard.
Present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Mr. Smith.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Tonight is very laid back agenda, but we haven't met in a few months. And the last time we did meet, we talked about the Albany Alliance, and we were just in its infancy, putting the project together. And over the summer, they've been working very hard at a lot of different programming, and helping out our businesses of all in retainage, attraction, both big and small business, large business. And they've set up a few programs. So I asked Mr. O'Connor if he would join us tonight. And I see Mr. Luke Rogers from the County Executive's Office, who's been working very hard on the behind the scenes and in front of the scenes too. And I believe, was Kevin Catalano on? Yeah, I see Kevin Catalano right in front of me here, both from the Alliance here as well. So I'll turn it over to Kevin O'Connor to give us an update on the activities of the Alliance and our Economic Development Department. Kevin, good to see you again. You're muted, Kevin. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good seeing you, and nice to see everybody this evening. I'll kind of just give a brief little update here, and then if you have any questions, as Chairman said, beginning, we've got Luke Rogers on the phone and Kevin Catalano, who runs our Altech Loan Fund. But so the Alliance is now up and running. We're nearing the end of our first year. We have 2 employees, Kevin Catalano and Melanie LaRose. I serve as the non-paid CEO of the Alliance. But we started out in January with making the COVID grants that the legislature asked us to do. So we gave out $500,000 on behalf of the legislature's COVID-19 Economic Recovery Task Force. And those grants went to 51 women-owned business, 16 minority women-owned business, and 15 minority male-owned businesses. So we got that under our belt. We'll be following up with all of those. As you may recall, we did this with the Community Loan Fund of the Capital Region, and we're going to be touching base with all those grant recipients to see how they're doing. As you also know, we assumed the management of the Altech Loan Fund from the Albany Colony Regional Chamber of Commerce, effective on or about July 1st. The Altech Loan Fund currently has about $19.2 million in assets, $6 to $7 million in cash, and $12 to $13 million in loans receivable. We've got some 50 or 60 borrowers out there, and Kevin Catalano has been out meeting each and every one of them, reacquainting themselves to Kevin. Kevin made many of these loans himself when he used to work at the chamber. On the project side, we've been working with the African American Cultural Center on South Pearl Street in downtown Albany, and assisting them in acquiring 106 South Pearl Street, the former McDonald's, to turn into a grocery store to address some of the food shortage issues in the South End, the so-called food insecurity and food desert. We're working with a young gentleman named Trayvon Jackson, who's the executive director of the African American Cultural Center, and we're submitting an application to the county's Capital Resource Corporation for support from them to help the Cultural Center acquire the property. We've also been working with a consultant to identify shovel-ready sites around the county. You know, as we went out and started meeting with companies, we immediately found companies that were growing out of their space within the county, or for one reason or another had to move to different locations. And we found that we didn't have an inventory of ready to go sites for companies to relocate to or grow within our county. And the last thing we'd want to have happen is to have those companies go to an adjoining county or somewhere outside of our region or even outside the state. So we engaged a consultant, and we're in the process of identifying some probably 20 or 30 sites throughout the county. We've met with many of the local economic developers in your various districts, and that process is going very well. I should have a preliminary list at the end of this month, and hopefully a final list sometime around Thanksgiving or so. We also organize all of the town, city, and village economic developers into a local economic development advisory board to advise the Alliance board. And that's been going very well. We've gotten some good feedback from the local economic developers in all the towns and cities and villages. And that's really going to be the core of what we do. The name, the Alliance, was very purposeful in that regard, because we have to be able to work with all the other economic developers throughout the county. And that's off to a pretty good start. We just recently convened the MWBE and Economic Inclusion Advisory Board. We just kicked it off last week. And this will be an advisory board to advise the Alliance board on issues of minority and women-owned businesses in the county. And we've got some great folks who've stepped up and offered to be on that, and we expect good things to come out of that. Luke Rogers has been heading the effort on our business retention and expansion survey process, and that's gone out very well. We've got about 50, 60 surveys back, and we continue to get more, and we're getting some great intelligence from companies throughout the county, some good, some bad, but all of it helpful. We've also attended the offshore wind trade show. That is, Kevin Catalano covered it for us down in Richmond, Virginia, back in August. And again, we're really pushing hard to make sure that offshore wind designation in the ports of Albany and Queens starts to generate some activity. You may have heard that the county executive was at a press conference a couple of Fridays ago to announce an investment by the Ørsted, a Scandinavian energy company that'll be doing some work down in the port of Queens. We also, working with the county, worked on impaneling an expert group of broadband experts to help us put together an RFP for the Connect Albany broadband study. And that's going to be to identify gaps in broadband coverage in our rural, urban, as well as suburban neighborhoods throughout the county. So I think things are off to a good start. We're still a work in progress. I think we'll be hiring another person, or perhaps two, in 2022. We're working very closely with the county IDA and the county CRC, and we anticipate that those relationships growing stronger over time and working with them even more than we have in the past. Walt Foreman, the counsel to the IDA and the CRC, has proven to be a great colleague. We're working well with Chairman Clay and Chairman Demolowitz and the IDA and the CRC, respectively. So that's kind of sort of on a thumbnail, but we've got some work to do. We've got to build this organization so it's on an equal playing field as are the organizations in Schenectady with their Metroplex. As you know, they get $8 million a year in sales tax revenue to support their activities. And the Saratoga Economic Development Corporation has been doing a great job. They've attracted global foundries, and of course our neighbor across the river in Rensselaer County, Bob Passanella, been doing a great job over there. And I'll be candid with you, we're a little bit behind the eight ball, but I think we'll catch up and get our fair share of the economic apple that's everybody's chewing on out there. So that concludes my comments, Mr. Chairman. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And again, Luke and Kevin Catalano are on the call if there are any questions for them as well.
Very good. It sounds like an annual report you just gave, and that's only 3 months since they really organized. So great job. I said the other day when all the local IDAs met that this is like a dream come true. We've waited 20 years to organize our countywide economic development efforts, and we're finally getting there. And I think most of the local economic developers that I'm talking to are very happy with what we're doing here. And the best part about it is that I always thought that, you know, we could do this without the county infringing on what the locals are doing. And that's exactly what's going on. Kevin and Luke and Kevin are acting as the air traffic controllers, and they're bouncing our efforts out to all the localities, and they're making us stronger as a whole. And I think that's just a good way of doing it. Nobody gets bent out of shape doing it that way. And it just adds resources to our arsenal. Before it was a little confusing which way to turn outside of your own locality. And the state likes to deal with the counties, and in turn, the county hands it off to the locals. And I think that's been working great for the last couple of months now. There's been a lot better communication, a lot more resources available to us when we talk about attracting or retaining, which is in this year has been almost maybe more important than attraction. So I'm very happy with what's going, but I got to pause for 1 second because Rebecca just reminded me that we did not approve the previous meeting minutes. So has everybody read those? Anybody have any questions about the meeting minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve those?
Motion.
Mr. Brewski, second by Mr. Ricard. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'm sorry for the interruption. But is there any questions from the committee? Mickey?
Sean?
Yes.
Kevin, thanks for the update. Do you think that what you gave us about the advanced Albany County Alliance, the women minority and the minority, and what you told about the community loan fund balance, could you just put that in writing and get it over to us? I tried to write down, but I wasn't fast enough.
Yeah, no,
Just good, something I'd like just to have for my constituents.
yeah, absolutely. You know, I believe, Mr. Cleary, we even, and Luke, correct me here, I think we made an attempt to break down those grants by legislative districts. Luke, how did we make out on that? I know we tried to do that. It was kind of tough. Did we ever get anywhere on that?
For the grants, yeah, I'll have to look back, but I believe we did do a geographic breakdown. Are you, Mr. Clear, are you talking more about all of the initiatives, just a summary?
No, just, I mean, the grants, you guys gave us a list before. If you could give us that again, I know who's in, I think we had 8 or 9 in Gilman. But when you talked about the breakdown, I think you said 51 women-owned
Gotcha.
business, 50 women minority, 16 minority. And then you talked about the community loan fund, what the balance is, like, I think it was 12 million and 6 million. I mean, just something to have, you know, one-page thing of what, kind of like an annual report, like Sean was just saying, but it's only been 3 months, but just little bullets things that you talked about.
Yeah, I can hunt that down for you.
Well, you know, Luke, I could send Mr. Cleary my talking points, because they're all just bullets of exactly what
That'd
you're
be
looking for.
perfect.
And
That would be perfect.
yeah, just Mr. Cleary, just to clarify, the $19 million loan fund is the Altech loan fund, not the community loan fund. That's a different organization. Altech loan fund is the thing we took over from the chamber, and that's what's got the $19 million in it. And quite honestly, there's a real opportunity here. We just recently received a letter from the federal government asking if we would like to de-federalize the Altech loan fund. And we've, of course, got to go through the Albany County Business Development Corporation Board to do that. But it looks like we're going to do that, and that'll give us much more flexibility in how to use that money and use it to the benefit of, and maybe perhaps use it a little bit more strategically than it's been used in the past, and move that money around a little bit more equitably throughout the county, geographically, racially, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, your talking points would be fine. If you could share that with the committee.
I'm happy to get those over to you.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions, comments? You guys are too easy.
I have a quick question.
Yes, Mr. F.
Uh,
Carl.
Yes, I'm not sure to what extent you are involved in the wind turbine, but if you are in any way involved, what stage are we in right now? What stage? Have they started hiring people for that, or what are they doing currently with that?
Mr. Evacora, let me turn this over to Luke Rogers, who's our, kind of resident expert on alternative energy in the county executive's office and been very close on the offshore wind. So Luke, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Kevin. So great question, Mr. Efficaro. The Port of Albany project, which is the tower manufacturing facility, is currently going through a few review processes in the town of Bethlehem where it's located. Their estimated timetable is to begin facility construction in 2022. So you'd have construction jobs at that point, and then they want to be and need to be manufacturing towers by the end of 2023 or by the beginning of 2024. So in 2023, you would start to see the scaling up of those longer term, high to medium skilled manufacturing jobs. And the Port of Queens, the connector pieces that they're making down there, which connect the base to the tower for the Orsted project, on a roughly similar, give or take a few months, similar timeline.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
I had a question, probably for Luke too. I was at the press conference and they talked about the jobs, but they also mentioned that they would begin the training process pretty soon. I think they have, or I believe they stated Hudson Valley would be a source of training. Do they know when that's going to start and where are they going to do it at Hudson Valley or we talked about something in somewhere in between Queens and Albany where all the workforce may be hired from?
Sure. Yeah. So there are a few different workforce initiatives going on right now. We're actually meeting in the next couple of weeks to revisit that. Hudson Valley is involved. BOCES is involved. The school districts are involved. The Workforce Development Board and the ports themselves. So most likely you'll have a few initiatives that will come out of that. I don't want to announce anything for other people that hasn't been announced, but I think there are some definitely a look at the South End, given its proximity to the port for some of those opportunities. You've also had a pre-apprenticeship program launch in the South End, which is really about expanding the pipeline, getting people into a position, particularly people from that neighborhood, but throughout the county, into a position where they are ready to enter the apprenticeship program and then be lined up when these jobs, are available in the next couple of years. So those talks are kind of going on right now. A lot of it revolves around working with the contractors. So working with Marmon, working with Wellcon, who are actually developing these facilities, to really hone in on their needs and sort of work backwards from that. And that's the conversation that's happening right now.
And they did announce that they were entered into project labor agreements with the unions that, on these projects. So I would assume that the union would be involved in the apprentice programs as well.
Yeah, I think both projects will definitely both projects are prevailing wage. Orsted, I believe, has a national PLA for any work they do. And I think you're going to see a lot of union work at both of these facilities.
Any other questions about the wind power project or any other economic development? No? Well, they let you off easy tonight. I guess your presentation was just that good. So, but thank you. I just think it's a good idea. We're really, we're still in our infancy. Even though there's been a lot of progress made, I think it's good to keep the committee updated as to what's going on out there. And, we're out there, you're out there every single day beating the trenches. I know that because I'm in contact with you about our end of the county, and I think it's been going very good. So with
Mr.
that,
Chairman, I
Yes,
just
sir.
would like to just make one final comment.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I came out of retirement to take this job at the request of the county executive. And I've been pleasantly surprised about how much cooperation and support we've gotten from across county government, down into, as you were saying earlier, down into the towns, the cities and the villages. And I want to thank you again for the support that you provided last year or this year to the Alliance in the way of a direct financial support. And there's an amount of money in for next year, which I understand is looking good. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to thank you for the legislature's support on this. And if anybody has any questions, please have any of your members contact me directly. Happy to come out and see them. And, if there are any projects they have in their districts that they'd like us to get involved with, please feel free to call us. This is, we've got to be in this together. And, as Sean said earlier, this is a group effort here, and the closer we work together, the better success rate we're going to have.
Absolutely. With that, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Luke,
Sure.
Kevin. With that, we'll take a motion to adjourn. I'll entertain that. Mr. Brewski, second by Mr. Ricard. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?